Good morning, beautiful people. Hope this finds you well and with ease of heart. So, some of you may remember a few videos back, I was encouraging an approach for you to be able to bridge the gap in contact between you and spirit, in particular between you and your spirit guides. And one of the ways that I was encouraging that was to keep a spirit guide journal. A journal dedicated to that contact, where you can just literally grab a pen, grab your journal, give yourself some space and time and begin to write. You could place a question at the top of the page and then begin to write. One of the things that I often say is that contact can be really either really bold. I mean, many of you know of the story, and it was wonderful at the weekend with us honouring winter nights, a weekend of honouring winter nights, Samhain, Halloween, where the little ones were all charging around in their costumes, and then the elders the next day were gathered round the table, sharing supper, honouring stories of those that have come before us, those that have really influenced us, our ancestors, those that have really influenced us and continue to live on, and their ripples of that influence continue to live with us and through us. It was just absolutely humbling and beautiful to share those stories and to receive those stories, and to hear those stories be remembered. I'll share some of those stories as we go forwards in some future videos. And one of the stories my dad was sharing was him sharing, his experience of me when I was little, of me receiving that contact from my grandmother when I was 7 years old. She appeared as clear as day. Yeah, I have no recollection of her because she passed when I was 2. So it was really beautiful to hear Dad's side of that experience, and that's a really bold contact. But quite often, spirit contact can be really subtle, because it's just like the language of spirit predominantly is feeling. So it's kind of all about the feeling. And it's like accessing their subconscious. So, if I go back 26 years ago, 26 years ago, of sitting in a development group, I used to carry a notepad and pen, and there was so much that used to come. I used to just kind of scribble down. So much used to be accessed. It was a doorway into that world. It was a doorway into contact. And of course, within consultations, it just I've many years I've learned to kind of recognize the changes within my own awareness, within my own body, to feel the difference between myself and the information that's streaming through me. But one way to enhance that is keep a journal. Now, really interesting is that these last few days, I think with winter nights, Samhain and Halloween, it is a time of kind of recalling and remembering and honouring, and also a time of reflecting on what can be shed. You look at nature is shedding, especially here in the UK, those of us that have seasons around the world, you know, nature is shedding. Um, and you know, I think over the weekend, you know, kind of honouring and remembering, I remembered how, you know, powerful that tool was, but also how in a way it's come full circle, because a lot of the potent messages that I share on Instagram or on my blog, those channeled messages are coming through in writing in a very punchy way. I mean, I read it back afterwards, and I'm kind of blown away by what has been received. You know, it's a very very powerful tool, and I think with Winter Nights, it is, you know, anchored in honouring and remembering that awareness come back to me of how natural it felt to sit and write, and it's come full circle. You know, and the thing is with Winter Nights or Samhain, Halloween, as a good friend said, and my little one said, you know, it's not just a day. How can it be a day? You know, I remember him saying that. It's more of a time and more of a season. And I think that really makes sense. It resonates very deeply with me that it would be more than a day. It is a season. Um, so you know, we're in a time of reflecting. You know, going in, a time of remembering. And you know, some of the things that I've been saying for time now is that, you know, we are being encouraged to move beyond learning. You know, we're always learning, so don't get me wrong, but move beyond learning and we're moving into a time of remembering. You know, so we're moving beyond learning, we're moving in time of remembering. One of the other things the innate and spirit have been saying is that we are in a cycle of return. We are being woven back into the center. We are moving from harm to healing. You know, these words have been coming for the last year, predominantly, very solidly for the last year. And I know that when I received the portrait, you can probably just make it out there. I'll show you a picture in a minute on my phone. And when I received the portrait, that recognition of my spirit guide, Brenna, who is, she told me she is a storyteller of her people, of her kind, and that in time she will share and teach me the stories. And she used the words, it is a time of remembering rather than learning. And it was like deep. I was very emotional when I saw that portrait physically for the first time. I've been sensing her, feeling her, but this like portrait brought all the colour and the fine detail completely into my awareness, and it was very emotional and kind of very overwhelming. It was like deep recognition of someone that I had known for a very long time and a long time ago. You know, so you think about those words, you know, we're moving into a time, we're moving into a cycle of return. We're moving into a time that is about remembering rather than learning. We are being woven back into the center. We are moving from harm to healing. So last night when I finished up consulting, drifted into the kitchen, made myself a cup of tea, just hung out in the kitchen for a little while, coming back to myself. Had a shower, had some supper, watched a bit of TV, and then as I was kind of, you know, just gently turning the lights off, I just got this feeling of a presence there with me, which can be quite normal, but this feeling of a presence there with me, and I recognised it to be Brenna. Let me show you a picture to remind you. Some of you would have seen the portrait within a previous video. It's just hard to see in the light here. go. A bit difficult because of the light glare of the computer. Right, but that'll give you an idea. Jump onto my Instagram, you'll see a picture. There you are. It's a bit hard because of the light glare. There you go. I recognised, felt the presence to be her, and I grabbed a pen and grabbed a paper. And, you know, this is how it is. We just grabbed some scraps of paper and started writing. I could feel it unlocking, and I wanted to share it with you. So here we are, okay, and you'll recognise the theme to start with. It's a time of remembering rather than learning, for we are in a cycle of return. We are being woven back into the centre. The earth is releasing her stories, our stories. And I think that's really interesting because only this morning I received a message from a really good friend of mine who was talking about this article, where the article was saying, these scientists were saying that, you know, they believe that Gaia, they've referred to her as Gaia, has her very own consciousness. And I absolutely, truly believe that. You know, it's like, as Brenna says, you know, she says she's the storyteller of her people, the storyteller of her kind, a record keeper of sorts, and that her people have been here since the beginning of time. So the earth, she's releasing her stories, and in turn our stories. And as Brenna says, she's a storyteller of her people. She's been here since the beginning of time. So in a way, a record keeper. But so is the earth itself. So let me continue reading. The earth is releasing her stories, our stories. The history of humanity is rising to the surface. The true history, not the fragmented, distorted version. I wonder what that means. True history, not the fragmented, distorted version. So much of our lost and buried wisdom will be reclaimed, remembered, and reintegrated. We have a deep, rich heritage of deep mystical knowledge, wisdom, and direct experience that courses through our veins. We descend from the mystery schools. The land beneath our feet is releasing the stories so we may remember that we were and are alchemists and magicians. And this is a time of deep soul alchemy. We are being invited to place our bare hands into the earth, to reach deep down into the earth itself and pull those stories up like seeds into the light, to be relived, retold, and remembered. And I felt that message from Brenna, and she is as old as the land itself. She is a storyteller of her people and a witness of her kind, a record keeper. So, food for thought, as always. And I really do believe that we are being invited to remember that for us to traverse these times, it is about remembering rather than learning. If we can remember, and I think, it's an interesting thought, isn't it, that the earth is releasing her stories and our stories and our history, but our true history. You think about that, is that we have a very rich heritage of wisdom and knowledge and direct experience that in a way has been suppressed. It's been suppressed. It's been burnt, drowned and buried out of us. And in a way, I have a real belief that there are some really incredible old souls that are here and present, that are being called to lead with heart, to help us remember who we truly are and what we truly are, not the diluted version that we've become. We've been suppressed, oppressed. True nature has been absolutely buried, and there's major shifts occurring right now where people are remembering and also really questioning the way that, as a society, globally that is, the way we are living. We shouldn't just be existing or surviving, running around and working ourselves into the ground 14, 16, 12 hours a day just to put food on the table and a roof above our heads. We are breaking free, slowly but surely, we are breaking free from the slave master mentality. And I believe that, and I feel very deeply, that we all absolutely hold that light in the fibre of our beings, that we are all alchemists and that we are all magicians of sorts. And that light and that innate divine spark that we so often seek outside is actually a seed that is within us. And you kind of look, throughout time, the occult mystery schools have been there, but so much as that of that knowledge and wisdom, direct experience, has been buried under so many layers. Why is that? We are moving into a time of remembering rather than learning. We are being woven back into the center. We are in a cycle of return, and we are moving from harm to healing. I'll leave that with you until next time. Keep shining, keep remembering.